I'm going to show a lot of respect. So I wonder, skip to 20 real quick. And it says, and he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. That's where this ends up after this battle. That's the next thing they say. What did he instill in the Israelites? I don't think any of them are going to protest. I don't think there's going to be any problem with him leading. And it appears to me that the Philistines were slow in retaliation for 20 years. He judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. I think he's become at this point a great and notable character in the eyes of everybody. If there was a 10 most wanted list at this point for the Philistines, I think he'd be number one. This man was a threat to them. His strengths and abilities, like I said, would no longer be unknown. They would be widely known and talked about. He would gain fear. He would gain notoriety amongst the people. And to the Philistines, I would assume he would be one of the greatest threats because of his abilities. Go to 17. It says, and it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand and called the place Ramoth Leah. And it came to pass. His speech was over. And he said, when he made an end of speaking, so was the battle. He had nothing left to say. He had nothing left to do. He had destroyed or subdued all the men who'd wanted to do the same to him. He was done with it. When I read this, and I see that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and when I take 16 and 17 together, I kind of feel like at this point, he said, this is it for me. He said, I'm satisfied. My anger is now satisfied. I have repaid them in full. Now, what did Brother McDonald, wasn't it?
Robert, yeah.
What did Brother Robert say? He said, family, friends. For some people, these were husbands. For some, it was fathers. For all, it was there was sons of somebody. You think it's over for them? No. No. Now he's got more than 1,000 that he's going to have to face one day. Now there's no way this is over. His rage may be, he may be at peace with that, and I don't see how he can be, but his rage may be calmed, if you would. But this is not over. This is a long way. You can't deal with sin in sin and expect it to be done with. The only way you can deal with sin is to confess it and get right. He has not done that. He has steadily crept into worse and worse position. I think he may be at a level or a degree of some type of calmness. I don't want to use the word peace, because I don't see I can have peace. But I see where his anger could be satiated. I see where that drive for revenge could be quelled at this point. He satisfied his lust for blood. Let's put it that way. But he stoked the rage and the lust for blood in others. It's not over. What he's done at this point is he's placed a great sorrow upon a great amount of people. And he's inflicted a hurt that will not be forgotten. Never. These people never forget that. So now they know his strength, do they not? So what's their next step? They look for his weakness. They know his strength. And if you look at the next chapter 16 and begin to go through, you'll find they're looking for his weakness. Once you review yourself, once you allow all these things to come out and you make all these enemies, trust me, they're looking for your weakness. You as a child of God, if you're witnessing to people, if you're telling them about Christ, trust me, they're looking at you and they're hunting for weaknesses that they can bring out because they want to destroy your testimony. It's just the way it goes. We are a threat to the way unbelievers live their life. Face it, that's a fact. They do not want you to operate in peace. They do not want you to go unhindered. So they're going to look for your weaknesses. Now, hopefully some of them will look and not find those weaknesses, and they'll think, well, you know what? They are different. they are a child of God. Or maybe they find a weakness and maybe you've gotten angry or something, but you make it right. You seek their forgiveness. And they see that and they say, well, you know, there's a difference here. But I'm afraid a lot of times we're just like Samson. This tit for tat, and it just keeps growing. When we should learn how to forgive and back on out. You know, my dad used to always say, learn when to bow out gracefully. You know, and I think that's pretty good advice. You know, sometimes, well, human nature is don't. But I think wisdom says we need to learn. He cast away the jawbone. Like I said, I believe this action signifies it is finished for him. He's done what he needed to do to satisfy his anger, rage, and the wrong against him. But I ask myself, does he realize at what cost? This is a terrible cost. He just doesn't see, he hasn't had to pay it yet. You know, it's like going to the store and grabbing a lot of things you really want. You know, I want this tool, I want that tool, I want this, I want that. You got all your wish list, throw it on the counter, and they ring it up, and you're like, ooh, well, maybe I should put some things back because it's a terrible cost. He's done what he wanted. He filled his wish list, but at what cost? You're going to pay the price sooner or later. Let's go to this last line here, and it says here, Samson called that place Ramoth Leah. And it's interesting because this is a compound name. It's made up from two words, and the word is Ramoth, which you see at the first part, and Leah. Well, we know what Leah means, right? We've talked about that. Leah is jawbone or jaw, actually it's jaw, or cheek. So, and you have Ramoth. Now, Ramoth is an interesting word in that it could mean height, like how high something is, a high place. Now, when I say a high place, what do you think of? In Israel, there were high places and the kings didn't take them away, right? So it could be a high place. It could be a place of illicit worship. So that's what Ramoth means. So he's named this place Ramoth Leah. Is that a coincidence? Well, let me ask you this. First of all, could this have been a place of idol worship? You got bones around. They sacrifice animals. You know, what other bones were there? You know, I don't think you'd pick up a rib to fight people, but anyway, you understand there could be something else going on. We don't know. You know, we really don't. But it's a thought. Or was this a picturesque name? He's standing there, and all these people, he's just sacrificed on the altar of rage. That's what he's just done. That has been his high place. That has been where he's been worshiping, the altar of rage, that blood lust. So I don't know. It could have been a place of illicit sacrifice to pagan gods. It could have been his place of sacrifice to the god of revenge. All I know is it may be over in his mind, but it's not going to be over in the minds of a lot of others when they find out what he's done. At this point, they don't know. But you can't keep the magnitude of this secret, and it will come out. You know, there's sins in your life you can hide. You might hide them to the day you die. They're going to affect you, but they may not affect anybody else overly. But there's some things you've done, they're going to come out. You can't hide everything. And you can't hide anything from God. Be careful. It's better to live life in peace than live life constantly in conflict over some wrong that you've done or some guilt that you have. It's best just to take it to the Lord and confess it. And if he lays it on your heart to confess to others, take it. Get rid of it. Get it right. All right. Anybody want to add anything before we close? All right. We're done. We'll be back on the hour.